It was the kind of case that always returned when the city lights were harsh and the mirror was too honest. The case of the recurring black dots. People called them blackheads, like they were criminals with names and motives, like they chose to show up on the nose and chin just to ruin a good day. But in my line of work, you learn fast. Most criminals are just outcomes. They're the fingerprint left behind by a system that's been pushed too far, too often, in ways nobody notices until the evidence is staring back from the glass. I'm Detective Derm, part doctor, part investigator, full-time translator between what skin looks like and what skin is actually doing. And tonight, we're going to solve it the way real cases get solved. Not by shouting at the suspect, not by buying another shiny gadget, but by tracing the chain of events that leads to the crime. The first call came from a client who sounded tired of losing. "It's always the same," they said. "I clear them. They return. I'm washing. I'm trying. But the dots come back like they own the place." I asked the question I always ask when someone thinks they're facing a stubborn enemy. Tell me what happens right before it gets worse. Silence. Then a confession. I don't know. Maybe it's just my skin. That's how the story always starts. Blame the skin, blame the pores, blame the genes. But I've seen too many cases to accept that as an ending. Every recurring problem has a pattern, and patterns always leave clues. I stepped into the scene. A bathroom lit like an interrogation room, a sink crowded with bottles, and a mirror that had seen too much. The face in front of it looked normal, human, alive, and yet, the client's mind was fixed on the dots like they were the only truth worth seeing. That's when I spotted the first clue. The skin around the nose wasn't just dotted, it was slightly irritated, like it had been questioned too aggressively. Not enough to scream, but enough to whisper. Something is happening here besides dirty pores. In noir, the truth is never in the obvious place. The obvious place was the black dot itself. The real truth was in the neighborhood around it. The redness, the tightness, the faint, uneven texture that shows up when skin has been pushed. I looked at the client and said, "Let's rewind the tape." We went back in time like a detective replaying surveillance footage. Morning. A quick wash, sometimes harsh because the client wanted clean. Midday. A wipe, a rub, a dab, tiny touches that felt harmless. Afternoon. A little shine, a little anxiety. Evening. A tired face, layered with the day's sun protection. Maybe makeup, maybe just city air and sweat. Then a rushed removal because life doesn't pause for pores. And late at night, the final scene. The mirror again. Close-up inspection. The fingers hovering like suspects about to flee. That's when the crime happened. Not in one dramatic act, but in 100 small ones. Friction, pressure, incomplete removal, overcorrection, then repeat. The dots weren't the villain. They were the paperwork the system filed after being stressed. The next clue came from a witness nobody ever thinks to interrogate. Contact. Contact doesn't look like a product. Contact looks like a hand resting under the chin while you think. It looks like a phone pressed to the cheek. It looks like a mask seam rubbing the same spot for hours. It looks like the collar of a shirt, the strap of a helmet, the edge of a pillowcase night after night. Contact is quiet, but it has stamina. And stamina beats intensity every time. I've seen skin stay calm under strong actives when contact is minimal. And I've seen skin clog under gentle routines when contact is constant. Contact doesn't need to be brutal, it just needs to be repeated. I asked the client, "Where do you touch your face without noticing?" They hesitated. Then the truth spilled out. Chin in meetings, nose during stress, cheek on the phone, forehead when hair falls forward. There it was, the map of pressure points, the exact places where the crime was most common. When skin is rubbed, it doesn't just get red, it changes behavior. The pore lining becomes more reactive. The tunnel becomes more likely to hold on to what should have drifted out. And when a tunnel holds on to things, it fills. When it fills and reaches the surface, air changes the top of it and it looks darker. People see the darkness and shout, "Dirt!" But darkness is just a chemical signature at the scene. The third clue came from a witness with an innocent face. Film. Film is what sits on the surface when you live in the world. It can be protective sun protection is not an enemy. It can be aesthetic makeup is not a sin. It can be practical styling products, sweat barriers, long wear layers. The problem isn't that film exists. The problem is when film becomes a permanent resident around the pore opening, changing the doorway into a sticky threshold. In cases like these, I never ask, "Do you wear sunscreen?" I ask, "How does it leave your face at night?" Because prevention lives in departures. Anything that arrives during the day must be escorted out gently and completely at night. If it isn't, the pore doorway gets clogged with leftovers, and the tunnel inside starts to jam. I asked the client to describe their end-of-day cleanup like they were describing a getaway. "Sometimes I wash quickly," they said. "Sometimes I'm exhausted. Sometimes I rub until it feels clean." Rubbing until it feels clean is the classic mistake. It swaps residue for irritation. It's like smashing a lock because the key won't turn sure. You get the door open, but you damage the frame. Damaged frames don't close right. Damaged pores don't behave right. The fourth clue was psychological, always the hardest to arrest because it hides in plain sight. The magnifying habit. The client wasn't just looking, they were hunting. They were scanning the face like a detective scanning a crime board, except the suspect was their own skin. Every scan increases attention. Every attention increases touching. Every touching increases inflammation. Every inflammation increases uneven shedding. Uneven shedding increases plugs. Plugs reach the surface. Dots appear. The habit feels justified because the dots are real, but the dots are partly created by the habit. That's the cruel twist. The attempt to solve the problem can become the mechanism that keeps it alive. I told the client something that sounds simple but changes everything. If you want fewer dots, you have to reduce the behaviors that feed the dot factory. Your goal isn't to win the mirror. Your goal is to calm the system. They didn't like it at first. People rarely like the truth when it asks them to stop doing the thing that feels productive. But the truth doesn't care about feelings. The truth cares about outcomes. We continued the investigation with a new technique. We stopped interrogating the dot and started interrogating the timeline. I asked, "When do the dots look worst?" The client said, "After late nights, after sweaty days, after I use heavy styling products, after I wear a mask long hours, after I scrub." That list was the confession. Each item was a trigger category. Fatigue leading to rushed removal, sweat trapped and rubbed, hair product migration, friction and occlusion, and trauma. You don't solve a case by collecting more suspects. You solve it by eliminating the repeat triggers. Now, in noir stories, there's always a temptation to end things with a dramatic showdown. People want a single hero product that storms the hideout and clears every pore by sunrise. But medicine doesn't work like cinema. Skin is not impressed by drama. It is shaped by repetition. So instead of a showdown, we staged a quiet reform. Not a routine lecture, this is a detective story. Remember, reforms are what cities do when they want less crime. First reform. We removed the most corrupt officer in the department, violent extraction. No more squeezing with nails. No more impulsive. Just this one. Not because extraction is morally wrong, but because in this case it was feeding repeat offenses by injuring the pore walls and making them behave worse over time. Second reform. We addressed the city's infrastructure, how things exit at night. The client didn't need to scrub harder. They needed to remove film without breaking the doorframe. That meant shifting from force to dissolution, letting the day's layers release instead of being sanded off. Third reform. We controlled the repeat friction zones like a police chief controlling a dangerous intersection. Chin-hand contact was reduced. Phone contact was minimized or cleaned. Mask friction was managed by reducing rubbing and avoiding heavy, sticky layers trapped underneath. Fourth reform. We neutralized the magnifying mirror as an accomplice. The client stopped the nightly interrogation sessions. The mirror stopped being the boss. The skin stopped being treated like a suspect. At first, the client panicked. They felt like they were doing less. But doing less was the point. Doing less harm creates more healing. And healing